my name is Amani, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my top 20 best books of 2020. So the first book that I'm going to be talking to you is probably the best book of 2020 yet that I've read. It's A Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabaa Tahir. I have already released my unfiltered reaction to the book, and I will link that in the description box below. You can check it out under my book blog. So the second one is Love from A to Z, and this is by S.K. Ali. What I'm really excited about is that Adam and Zainab make an appearance in the Saints and Misfits sequel, which is coming out in May. I am just so excited that there is finally a Muslim love story, and it's told by a Muslim couple who practices Islam, and the characters feel very authentic and real. This next one is actually That Can Be Arranged, and I'm going to insert a picture of it up here. It is a graphic novel where Huda tells the story of how she met her husband Jihad and a lot of the crazy shenanigans that occur because of that. The next book that I'm going to talk to you about is The Wrath in the Dawn, and that's by Renee Ahdieh, and I don't have a physical copy of this because I actually got this from the library. It's essentially a 1001 Nights retelling, and it's the story of Shazi and Khalid and how Shazi ends up being his bride, but Khalid is known for killing off his brides, and it's basically the story that's really good fantasy, and there's also a webtoon that you can read, so if you're interested in comics or reading comics, then I highly recommend checking it out. So the next one is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. If you haven't already checked it out, I highly recommend doing so. This is set in Arabia, and Hafsa Faizal actually made the Time magazine best books, or best authors I believe, and she is a Niqabi Arab Sri Lankan, if I'm not mistaken. I really loved this book. If you're a fan of An Ember in the Ashes or Sabaa Tahir's book, then you are going to love We Hunt the Flame. Okay, so this next one is When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandhya Menon, and this book has been adapted into a TV show called Mismatched, and I honestly loved seeing Dimple and Rishi come to life and seeing their dynamic. Rishi's brother was kind of a disappointment in the show, but in the books he's awesome, and I think you should give this series a chance if you haven't already. There's also Meet Cute, where it involves coffee, ice cold coffee, being thrown at another character, and if you are a fan of Meet Cutes, then you are going to really enjoy this. So this next book is a fantasy book, and it is called Crowning Soul. I am super excited to be talking about this one because it is a self-published book by Sahira Javed, and I absolutely loved her fantasy and seeing a Muslim in a fantasy setting. I think we need more books like that, and it is really good. So definitely, if you are a fan of fantasy books, then you should go and check it out. The next book I'm going to recommend is The Blade Bone, or it's called The Khorasan Archives, and it's by Asma Zeinat Khan. I honestly loved this series. I devoured it and read all of the books in about a day, much like how I read An Ember in the Ashes quartet. And if you're a fan of fantasy and corrupt societies, then you will really enjoy this book. The book is called Dear Justice, and it's by Nick Stone. It is a very heart-wrenching book to read, but it is a very important book to read. I believe everyone should read this book, and it is basically the sequel to Dear Martin. So if you haven't read Dear Martin, I highly recommend reading Dear Martin. Both books are super quick reads, and you will learn a lot by reading it. So of course I had to put Frankly in Love on this list. This is a really cute rom-com book that also deals with racism and racism within your own family, and I absolutely adore this. Frankly's parents don't want him to marry outside of their culture, and it talks a lot about how he believes his parents are racist, and it stems from the fact that they kicked his sister out. And it stems from when their parents kicked his sister out for marrying outside their culture. So all in all, if you love rom-coms or YA books with deeper meanings, then you'll enjoy, frankly. So this next book is Aisha at Last, and it is honestly one of my favorite Muslim love stories as well, because Pride and Prejudice retelling. As I would also say that it kind of reminds me of Crazy Rich Asians, so if you're a fan of either of those two books, you're going to really love Aisha. Aisha is a school teacher. She is working off her debt to her uncle. Her cousin Hafsa is kind of like Lydia from Pride and Prejudice, because she's a bit lighthearted, very flirtatious, doesn't really take anything seriously. And Khalid is very much like Mr. Darcy. He takes everything very seriously, and due to his mother's influence, he is very judgmental. So it's a really cute but also interesting love story, as well as it tackled a lot of things that Muslims have dealt with, or different Muslim readers have dealt with different things or part of these things. So I think if you are going to give a book a chance, a new book or a new author, I definitely recommend Aisha. So this next one is actually an advanced reader's copy that I got, and I absolutely adored it. I also finished this one in about a day or two, and it's got a bit of a political canvassing going on, so if you're a fan of Yes, No, Maybe So, then you will absolutely love You Say It First. Meg and Colby are polar opposites in this book, and Colby is dealing with his dad committing suicide. Meg is dealing with her own issues, and it's kind of the story of how they come together unexpectedly one night when Meg is trying to get Colby's signature and to sign up for a political campaign. So Somewhere Only We Know, you've seen me talk about this a lot, so I'm not going to go into the plot again, but if you are a fan of Korean dramas like True Beauty or The Heirs or Pinocchio, I would say Pinocchio is probably the closest one to this one. Alright, so this next one is Red, White, and Royal Blue, and you already know what it's about. I absolutely love this book, and if you got it because of BookTube or Book Talk or wherever you got it from, I recommend reading it. It's a really cute romance, and it's got a bit of a political take on it as well, because there's the elections in this book, and it's just super interesting to see the difference between the US elections and then the UK ins and outs, and I honestly love this book, and I would recommend rereading it if you already have read it. Okay, so this next one, if you are a fan of the show Love, Victor, then you will love Creekwood. It is by Becky Albert Howley, and it takes place after everything that happens in Leah on the Offbeat. So I think if you are a fan of the Simon Spear characters, or the Simon Verse characters, as Becky Albert Howley fondly calls it, I think you will enjoy this novella. There's not a whole lot of plot going on, but it's just really cute seeing what all the characters are up to after the book has already, after the series have already ended. This is a really cute conclusion to the To All the Boys series, and it's Forever and Always Laura Jean by Jenny Han. It's also going to be an adaptation on Netflix probably sometime next year, and I honestly can't wait to watch it and reread the series when that's out again. I love Laura Jane and Peter, but I also really liked what was his name, John Ambrose McLean. I don't know if it was because Jordan Fisher played it or because he's also really well written in the books. So this next book is Little Fires Everywhere, and if you've seen the TV show, you should definitely give this book a read. I would recommend checking it out just because some of the things that happen in the show don't happen in the book, and it's always cool to see what the author had initially planned for these characters. So this next book is The Novice, and if you're missing something like Harry Potter or Pokemon and you want a book that is not written by the author who wrote Harry Potter, then you should definitely check out The Novice by Mathru, and I'm so sorry if I butchered that, so I will insert his name. But this book series is honestly really good, and if you are a fan of an epic fantasy journey, then you will adore. Alright, so this next book is actually a middle grade book, but it's one of my favorites of 2020 because it's Once Upon, and it's edited by S.K. Ali and Aisha Syed. There's so many other authors that have written featuring about 15 other authors, and they're all really great writers. I highly recommend checking out this anthology if you have not done so already to see what it is about. Alright, so the last one is Saints and Misfits, and this is by S.K. Ali. I honestly adore this standalone, and it is so good. It is also heart-wrenching because Jenna Yusuf had been assaulted in her community and by a prominent member of the community, and it's kind of the aftermath of how she copes with it. She's a high school student, so obviously her reaction is very different to someone who's older, and I think it's really important to have these kinds of books out, especially written about marginalized communities such as Muslim communities, because we do not have enough Muslim books. I would love to see more books like S.K. Ali's books, especially because Saints and Misfits is the first time I've ever read about a Muslim girl who got assaulted by someone, and I think we need more YA books that talk about Muslim struggles and just Muslim. So the next book is Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Wen, and it is essentially a lot like The Heirs, but it takes place in Taipei. There's a lot of shenanigans that happen. Her is basically about to embark on a journey that she'll never forget during the summer when she's forced to go to Taipei for a summer. Next book is The Year by So if you have ideas, let me know in the comments below. Until next time. Bye.